on each patch. Okay. Anyway, so I'm going to read about 4 or 5 poems. They also have a theme, and my brain went as far as poems about endings of of some sort or another. 2 are new ones, 2 are old ones, and one's kind of middle-aged. Okay. This one's about the end of the world. Contraction. It's still and too early in the century for a landscape survey. Number 79. Which of the following most accurately describes your relationship with the natural world? A. Physical. B. Platonic. C. You first. D. Fleeting. Number 97. One tide says to the other tide, A. I would go out tonight. B. If someone asks, this is where I'll be. C. The change will do you good. D. I've lost control again. Poster punks in the deciduous district. Signs that read, trees for the forest. Stones breaks bones. If he falls, it's here. No one is around. 2 birds sling their shadows over a road. The shoulder won't shrug. A beautiful day, there's not a cloud in the sky. A beautiful day, there's not a cloud. A beautiful day, there's not. You should hear what the weather says about us. Thunder classified, comic gossip, obit, sunstrip, all the print that's fit to noose. Campaigns to defeat and to lose, recycle, reduce, rechoose, organic ice cubes, compost mortem, slogans packed, just in case. Speech gets stumped, with names bygone to indubious extinction. 3 candidates drone. Candidate 1, bees, caribou, tap water, the great outdoors, house pets, penicillin. Candidate 2, deerberry, seasons, wolverine, umbrellas, books. Candidate 3, oak, parks, sand, constellations. Elect the preterite. This one is a little more modest. It's not about the end of the world. It's about the end of a year that I spent teaching in Korea. An afternoon among cherry blossoms in the fucking spring. We had rented a double bike, which our friends warned us was the relationship tester. We passed unpredictable paths of school children and trailing lines of presumable grandmothers, probably not muttering about us, though it could seem that way. So conspicuous as we drew and redrew circles around Susangu Pond. So conspicuous that a man once stopped us in Seoul to say that I had a very special face, whatever that could mean. On the train back to our adopted home, the television swelled with images of a rocket launch. DPRK was all we could make sense of, like they had translated that fragment for the sake of our awaiting nightmares. Otherwise it looked like Apollo 13, sky and smoke, without the pomp and Hanks. The fellow foreigner in the seat nearby, using the word binary like he had invented it. It's 2 things. I didn't intrude. It's 2 things. His eyebrows not unarching. The next day at school, our teaching partners waved off our concerns about annihilation, despite air horns, a foreign email from the Canadian Embassy, and thoughts of personal extinction. Their laughter belonged to the years raised amidst belligerence. Turned out the truck circling our neighborhood, led by a loudspeaker, was peddling fruit, not evacuation plans. Turned out that the BBC was as alarmist as my mother, so I changed my homepage to The Guardian. That weekend we hosted an end-of-the-world party, just in case. I dressed like a general. You wore a mustache for some reason. A joke that didn't elude me then. The rooftop gave us the view we'd want, should our Armageddon theme actualize. Would we even notice? Just another night, every other night. Wrapped up in a game where we flicked a bottle top. Wrapped up in a story about Mike's crazy coworker Liz, how she confiscated teddy bears when the children spoke Korean in class, lining them on her desk like war trophies. Monday, my grade 2s made posters depicting one thing they'd change about the world. For Michael, it was flying cars. Lindsay, a new brother. Tommy wanted Korea and Japan to be friends. The East Sea, a green heart in his poster. Because there was only one red crayon, Lindsay refused to share. Her old brother had burst out a lot of blood. Tommy said something nasty to her in Korean, my diplomacy blundering as ever. If only I could reconcile Tommy's global ambitions and his local actions. if only I had the word. This one, okay, I don't know. That one's new, so that was one of the new ones. I can't tell, maybe it's like too raw, maybe ripe, I don't know, edible. This one, I came across this quote, I shared it with Travis in the New York Times. There was an article on like ebooks and how like flash sales and this whole phenomenon of like artificially or really inflating the sales of certain books because they'll advertise for something and get the picture. And there was this quote that said, we're living it, finding a book used to mean scouring the shelves at a bookstore, asking a bookseller for guidance, or relying on recommendations from friends. That's what it used to mean. So this one's about the end. This one's about, God forbid, this one's about the end of reading. It's called Reading as Algorithm. Recommendations for you in performances, Lilah Kemp audience members. Customers who have heard poems in your recent history also listen to prose by Josh Tibbets and music by Emily Shute. You like Cormac McCarthy's The Road? I like Cormac McCarthy's The Road. Like the onset of some cold glaucoma dimming away the world. Like pilgrims in a fable swallowed up and lost among the inward parts of some granitic beast. Like a charcoal drawing sketched across the wave. Like an apparition. Like some old word thespian. Like the great pendulum in its rotunda scribing through the long day movements of the universe of which you may say it knows nothing, and yet know it must. Like the last host of Christendom. Like something fetched from a tomb so dried and drawn. Like the dying world the newly blind inhabit, all of it slowly fading from memory. Like a dog musher, like farm animals, like certain ancient frescoes entombed for centuries suddenly exposed to the day, like the ruins of a vast funhouse against the distant murk, like latter-day bogfolk, like pilgrims from some common order, like an underground train, like ruined aviators, like migrants in a feverland, like shapes of bears, like northern lights, like a grieving mother with a lamp, like failed secretarian suicides, like a path of basalt winding through the woods, like a flash of knives in the cave, like the shape of a flower, a molten rose, like the pitch of some last venture at the end of the world, like mist, like stands of heathen candles, like gaming cards, like a fallen plate, like a penitent, like a ship, like an animal inside a skull, looking out the eye holes, like a dog, like lepers, like some ancient anointing, like sappers, like ancient documents, like something trying to preserve heat, like dental molds, like a blueprint for assembly, like wind-up toys, like an after-image in the disturbed air, like some hibernating animal, like an offering, like drunks, like something out of a death camp, like the track of some enterprise upon a path, like mendicant friars sent forth to find their keep, like dawn before battle, like ground foxes in their cover, like smoke, like a grave yawning at Judgment Day in some old apocalyptic painting, like a pile of rags fallen off a cart, like something trying to feed a vulture broken in the road, like a child, like a starved and threadbare Buddha, like some storybook peddler from an antique time, like shoppers in the commissaries of hell, like squid ink uncoiling along a seafloor, like fugitives, like the bowels of some great beast exposed to the day, like victims of some ghastly and vacuuming, like a cat licking its reflection in a glass, like traffic victims, like a house in some uncertain dream, like skeptical house buyers, like a troll coming from the night, like another dying implement, like a thing to be called out long of hibernation, like a man waking in the grave, like those disinterred dead from his childhood that had been relocated to accommodate a highway, like apes fishing with sticks in an anthill, like the desolation of some alien sea breaking on shores of a world unheard of, like a slowly heating vat of slag, like trains, like an isoclean of death, like exhausting, least likely places first from looking